Italy. A country renowned for its rich cultural heritage and historical significance, which has left a profound impact on the world in various ways. When we think of legacies from Italy, it's not limited to a single aspect, but encompasses a diverse range of contributions that have shaped art, science, cuisine, architecture, and of course, cars. These legacies continue to influence and inspire people globally. We separate ourselves from mere beings by the tools we design, and the connection between a man and his tools is a story of how we broke through every barrier that stood in our way. In the 80s, when turbocharged monsters tore through gravel roads and Japanese technology ruled the world, the connection became absolutely clear. A few engineers in Italy were aware that it had to respond with finesse and balance to the Audi Quattro, with a four-wheel drive legend of its own. They could combine man with machine in such a way as to be unstoppable. They created something groundbreaking, engineered to be perfectly balanced and capable of anything from tight corners on gravel and tarmac. We believe it's wise to start by describing how rallying became so popular in the 1980s. Group B, which was a kaleidoscopic violence of speed, noise, and genuine, extremely imminent danger, gained more viewers than Formula One. Because their WRC programs were built around their generally modest showroom cars, automotive brands were capable of investing enormous amounts of money in it despite their inherent risks. To win another championship in 1985, Lancia just had to step up its game from a commercial standpoint. Audi and Peugeot had shown that driving all four wheels instead of just two, as in the 037 Rally, was a faster way to send a rally car down a challenging stage than doing so with just two. The dominant success of 1983 was now just a distant memory. Decisive action was needed. Lancia approved the blank sheet development of the new four-wheel drive Group B replacement to the 037, which is largely based on the flagship Delta HF Turbo, in a bid to revive its incredible sporting heritage. What was created was quite possibly the scariest car ever built. Italy boasts some of the world's most famous and prestigious automotive brands in the world. From Alfa Romeo and Maserati up to Ferrari and Lamborghini, Lancia is another historic Italian brand that at some point in its history approached the same level of prestige as these marques, but more recently has limited itself to selling one model of car, the dated Y light hatch, in just one market, Italy. Lancia can trace its history all the way back to 1906, when it was formed by former Fiat engineers Vincenzo Lancia and Claudio Fogolin, who desired to make more performance-oriented cars suitable for racing than the comparatively workaday models then being produced by Fiat. The brand's early models also helped build its reputation as a technical pioneer, with the firm responsible for introducing numerous innovations still in use today. Although all these innovations substantially raised the image of the brand as most innovative and technically advanced Italian marque, they also required complex, expensive engineering, and with the brand using dated production equipment, it meant that the production process was very labour-intensive, further raising costs. Dwindling demand led to the end of the firm being an independent company, with Fiat buying out Lancia in 1969. The two most famous Lancia models in recent memory have arguably both gained their popularity due to their performance and their contributions to ensuring the brand's presence on the world rallying stage. The first of these is the Lancia Stratos. With almost 500 units produced over 5 years from 1973 to 1978, the Stratos featured a distinctive short wheelbase, wedge-shaped design with a stubby profile and trademark wraparound motorsport helmet-style windshield. The car's use of a Ferrari V6 engine mounted midship and its light weight was key to it helping Lancia win the World Rally Championship for 3 years consecutively over 1974, 1975 and 1976. The second model is the Lancia Delta, specifically the first generation produced from 1979 to 1994. Its fame and presence in pop culture is perhaps confirmed by the model continuing to be a popular car of choice in video games such as Gran Turismo 2 and onwards. While ordinarily a normal family hatchback, the addition of a four-wheel drive system and a turbocharged 2-litre 4-cylinder engine to HF and HF Integrale variants during the mid-1980s gave the car exceptional performance and led to the model being one of the most successful rally cars ever, winning 6 straight World Rally Championships from 1987 to 1992 in the Group A class. Although Lancia had a tough time before they ruled the WRC with the Lancia Delta in the Group A class. You wanted a machine capable of reacting quickly, a tool that practically reads your mind. Now, you already know if you watch this channel, war has a habit of pushing innovation. By the 1980s, wars were not fought with guns and bombs. The battles were waged on tarmac and gravel. The shots fired from exhaust pipes, and yet the thirst for blood was all the same. The automotive landscape of the 1980s was wrought with disaster. Fuel had become scarce thanks to the oil crisis of the 70s. In addition to the Quattro, the 037 also had a hard time keeping up with the four-wheel drive Peugeot 205 T16. Both 1984 and 1985 were tremendously hard for the Italian squad, especially as Lancia Martini was patiently waiting for their new car. It was all making Lancia mad as hell, and they weren't going to take it anymore. Extremely fast regardless of surface, the four-wheel drive land missile sadly lost to the aforementioned Peugeot 205 T16 in 1986. Out of 13 rallies that year, the Delta S4 took home 4 wins compared to 6 for the 205 T16. It finished in 3rd place in the Constructors' ranking, behind Audi and Peugeot Talbot. Group B was banned in May 1986 following a horrendous crash at the Tour de Corse. Henry Toivonen and co-driver Sergio Cresto died in their Delta S4 Corsa, and one day later, FISA President Jean-Marie Balestre made the shock announcement that Group S would be banned for 1987 as well. Lancia's twin-charged monster had much to prove, but paradoxically, the Delta S4 had inadvertently sealed the fate of the most extreme rally cars ever produced. The Group B spec Delta S4 originally numbered 28 examples, and homologation rules further gave us a few road-going cars. It's no beauty, and at the speed, the noise level is rather high, but neither fact is important. Not with the boost gauge pegged and all 250 brake horsepower twisting its way to the fat Pirellis at each corner. Not when you're whistling down the autostrada at 140 miles per hour, unworried that the road is bending and the pavement is darkening with splotches of dampness. Not when every control in the car, from gear shift to steering wheel to the drilled metal pedals, reacts quickly and positively to your inputs. Then beauty isn't particularly important at all. We could argue about the definition of the word exotic as it applies to automobiles, and some might contend that automobiles such as the Lancia Delta S4 are not the most exotic in the world. Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Lotuses, etc. are much better looking and certainly have a higher level of amenities. And if your purpose in owning an exotic car is as much amorous as automotive, by all means stay with these. But from the standpoint of rarity and technical interest, the S4 and its Group B brethren outdistance them all. On the matter of rarity, the international racing rules say any automaker that wants to compete in the Group B rally class must build 200 of the model to homologate it. 20 more can be created as evolution models, that is, competition cars. The constant changing of rules and regulations means the chances of a manufacturer making more than 200 of these fascinating cars to sell to the public are slim. What technical advances will an automaker need to make in order to remain competitive in 2 years? Enough to assure that you have built-in rarity with the present models. Before we check out the technically interesting Lancia Delta S4, remember there's another Lancia Delta, a nice transverse engine front drive sedan with a Giugiaro designed steel body, room for 4, and all the expected comfort of a standard production car. Lancia makes this Delta by the thousands. In fact, the Delta S4 shares with the production car the name, a similar front grille, and the fact they both have 4-cylinder engines. That's about it. Though the S4 is a production car, it's produced with hand labour, starting with the engine. In rather typical Italian fashion, the S4's engine is special, though it's not apparent when you lift the tail section of the car. That view of the engine is nothing extraordinary, because all you see are 2 great horizontal intercoolers. But those intercoolers indicate, of course, that the engine is turbocharged, which is what all the automakers, except Austin Rover with its MG Metro 6R4, figure is the logical answer in this rally class. The rules allow a 900 to 1000 kilogram car, considered by Lancia the best weight for both lightness and safety. The potential horsepower from the former displacement would be around 350, while the latter should be able to produce more than 400, which pretty well settles the route to take. Abarth, which does race and rally design and development for all Fiat subsidiaries, created an entirely new engine for the S4. It's a 4-cylinder monoblock design, so it has no detachable head. Inside the block are aluminium cylinder liners, which are treated with a nickel-based coating. Naturally, the engine is dry sump and has twin camshafts and 4 valves per cylinder. Displacement is 1759 cc, but that's all the simple stuff. Though turbocharging is almost a given on an engine of this type today, it wasn't quite enough for Lancia. While the turbo provides the power needed at high RPM, the S4's designers wanted more punch lower in the rev range, because rallying requires wide-ranging power. So they added a belt-driven supercharger using a Roots-type unit akin to one already offered on several production models. The rally car uses one fuel injector per cylinder. It is, however, a very expensive injector, so the production S4 has a pair of less expensive injectors for each cylinder. Put it all together and it spells power. With 250 brake horsepower at 6,750 RPM for the street machine. Add the competition changes, larger turbo, higher boost, etc., and the power goes to 400 at 8,000 RPM. To make the best use of that power, the S4 has 4-wheel drive, which is a must in international rallying these days. Round and square section tubing are used to create the S4's structure. Ahead of the front axle is a pair of aluminium tubes designed to absorb energy in case of an accident. Although composites are considered necessary for a Grand Prix car chassis, Lancia stayed with a tube roll cage frame for 3 reasons. First, easy access to components is critical with a rally car. Second, the tube structure is easier to get around. And last, the cage is also simpler to repair. Lancia knows what can happen, the flexing and bending in an accident. Production S4s use a fiberglass body, and none of the panels are stressed. Rally S4 bodies have carbon fiber and Kevlar added for lightness and strength. Both ends of the body lift to expose the engine or suspension. Considering the smooth, svelte shapes that usually emerge from wind tunnels these days, it seems almost ludicrous to mention the S4 body was developed in Fiat's tunnel. And that Lancia considers is a logical, successful aerodynamic design. For though rally cars look as though they're going like the hounds of hell, their average speed is relatively low, in the 50 to 55 miles per hour range. But consider the conditions and application. There's all that horsepower in the back, demanding gobs of air to cool the engine, and the big brakes require quick cooling too. In both street and rally versions, the side intakes send air to the intercoolers. A rooftop scoop on the competition car takes in air for the oil cooler, engine intake and rear brakes. Giorgio Pianti, Lancia's legendary development driver who's been responsible for such cars as the Fulvia HF, Stratos and 037 Rally, had tried an anti-lock system on a rally car, but it feels it still isn't right for competitions. Lombardi adds, however, that with less need to toss a car and spin its wheels with 4-wheel drive systems, a combination of anti-lock, anti-spin under acceleration might be the answer in the future. Abarth and Pirelli developed a new tyre for the production S4s. It's really meant to be 3 tyres in one. Called the P0 Corsa, the tyre has a V pattern on the inside of the tread, grooved rain channels in the middle, and a slick surface on the outside. The rubber compound is also different for each portion of the tyre. Pirelli feels that at speed on dry roads, the car goes faster and rolls more. Lancia claims the S4 will do 0 to 100 km per hour or 62 miles per hour in 6.0 seconds flat. No turbo lag. That's with a top speed of 140 miles per hour. Just because this is a homologation special doesn't mean the Lancia is a crude machine. You do have to climb over the high-angled sill formed by the roll cage frame, but then you do drop into a high-sided, very nicely done seat. There's not only full upholstery and carpeting, but even an anti-theft system. A trip computer too, all the better for keeping track of the average speed. Naturally, The instrumentation is complete, but so is the ventilation system. There are even electronic remote control mirrors. Two sure hints you're in something special: the drilled metal pedals and horizontally sliding plastic windows. You also know you're in something out of the ordinary when you grasp the stubby shift lever. Shifting is quick and direct. As promised, there is no turbo lag, just solid power from 0 to top speed. The Delta S4s must handle reasonably well at speed, because Henri Toivonen and Marco Alain finished 1-2 in the 1985 RAC Rally in England. Last major rally of the year, the RAC was the S4's debut in serious competition. To win under such circumstances in the rough world of rallying is downright impressive. Abarth and Lancia have truly created something groundbreaking, and it was almost an insult to call it fast. So, what do you call it? Fast. A Porsche is fast, Ferrari is fast, but the Delta S4 was something different. In the 80s you had supercars. Ferrari had their F40, which was fast, but it was basically a tube chassis race car. Lamborghini's Countach had the looks, but was still an unrefined experience. Its beauty was only skin deep. The F40 was as close as it got, but it remained in the f***ing one's rear view window. No, the Delta S4 was something else. It was rarer than Ferraris and Lamborghinis, behaved on the road better than anything from Porsche, and more importantly, it was faster than anything else. Abarth and Lancia succeeded in creating something more beyond what anyone at the time could even imagine was possible. A machine so delicately balanced, so poetic in its delivery. It demanded to be heard, an amalgam of raw brutality and space-age technology, sharpened teeth and fiery eco, well-behaved but capable of savage brutality. Rally drivers described it as criminally fast and impossible to drive slow. Huddled around a table in Turin in 1983, a few men set their minds to one purpose: not to make the fastest Group B rally car, but to make something bigger. And in 1985, they did. They created the greatest rally car of the Group B era, which heralded the dominance of Group A.